Hello, welcome back to Human Resource Management, and we are on the second part of the Human Resource Training and Development chapter. So, the first chapter we discussed about training, where it started, and what should be included in the orientation, or what's the basic training that is conducted for the new hires. We are now in the second part, which is the systematic approach to training. So, because training is moving its focus to teaching employees specific skills to a broader focus on creating knowledge. So, mas nag-move na siya into creating knowledge, dili na lang sa pag-create of specific skills. Training is used to gain a competitive advantage and viewed broadly as to create an intellectual capital, no? So, what are those intellectual capital nga it try o create? Those are the basic skills, the advanced skills, and understanding of the customer needs. So, when we say basic skills are the skills needed to perform one's job effectively, right? Kung sa imong kinahanglan to do your job. The advanced skills are the use of technology to share with other employees. No, mo na yung mga advanced skills. Understanding of the customer needs. It is very important because we are now in the global market, no? Global market is quality competitive. So meaning, pag mas taas ang imong quality sa imong product or services, mas dali kang mahalin. So, therefore, you have to understand the needs of the clientele or your customers, right? And in conducting training or ang success sa training program can be gauged by the amount of learning that occurred and is transferred to the job. Okay, training and learning will take place through the informal work groups, whether an organization has a coordinated effort or a certain extent or not, because employees learn from other employees, manggod. So, one of the characteristics of training systems na nga nakakontribute to the competitiveness is that they are designed according to the instructional design process. And what are the process? Unsa man ang process in designing or developing a training? So, the first process is the conducting needs assessment or assessment phase. In this part, you are going to look at the organizational analysis, the person analysis, and the task analysis. So, in the organizational analysis, this is going to include um, grievances, accident record, observations, and exit interview. Why exit interview? Because you'll know kung anong nihawa ang employee. Diba? Because exit interviews should be done para you will be able to know kung anong nihawa siya so that you will be able to make it better next time to keep your employees. Then customer complaints na bay reklamo imong mga customer nga gi-file against you. Equipment utilization and breakdowns. Unsay imong mga equipments? What are the equipment that you are using? And material wastage, scraps, and quality control data. Then the training committee, you have to know if you have to set your training committee, the observation, and the need assessment. So that's in the organizational level. On the personal level or individual analysis, um, you have to use performance appraisal uh, in making the analysis, and which is actually the most common approach, performance appraisal. Kaya ang performance review manggod will reveal the employee's inadequacy or adequate ba siya or inadequate ba siya to perform certain types of tasks. And this will also reveal what necessary training is needed to correct the weaknesses if naa. All right. So, an employee's potential may mean further training to assume a higher position in the future. So, muna siya. Next is the task analysis. Pag may task analysis, the job description and the job specifications provide information on the performance expected and the skills necessary for employees to accomplish the required work. Okay, so the changes in the work environment due to the introduction of new technology, machinery, equipment required changes in the task requirements of the position. So you have to know if there are changes, then you have to make a plan that will address the changes. Next is the part where you are going to ensure the readiness of your employees for training. So you have to look at the attitude and motivation and the basic skills of your employees. So the employee must set a positive tone for training. So dapat na sila ay positive or positive attitude toward training. And you have to cultivate that. You have to inculcate that to them and make it integral requirement before the employee sets foot in the training room. So dapat before sila mato sa training room, you're already able to set that positive attitude for them, and you have to put a positive attitude uh, for their desire of the trainee to gain, to learn the content of the training program. And then motivation is related to knowledge gain. Ma-motivate sila their behavior change, so na maiba sa ilang behavior or skill acquisition in their training. It is the role of the manager, kamo in the future, and the supervisor to assure that the employee has the highest degree of learning before he is sent to the program. Okay, and there are factors that are going to influence the motivation to learn. What are those? Number one is self-efficacy. So pag may self-efficacy, it should be the employee should have a belief that he can successfully learn the content of the training. Okay, so dapat magtuo siya or iyang na siya what do you call that? Positive siya nga maka-learn siya. Then the employee must also understand that the training is for his advantage. Okay? And learning gain could be an asset for future advancement. So you have to make sure that your employees will have that motivation, no nga this training will help me in the future. Next is the understanding the benefits or consequences of training. So the employee should understand that the training is related to his job, personal and career benefits, as it may include processes or procedures to make his work easier and is needed due to change in work technology. So the employee, you have to make sure that the employees understand that part, that this training is going to benefit them. Then, awareness of training needs, career interest, and goals. So, isa po na siya sa maka-motivate, no? Factor nga maka-affect sa ilang motivation. So, if they are aware that this training will be on their career interest and it will be um, pasok sa ilang goal, then they will be motivated, right? So, the employee must be given the choice of what training program he would like to attend. This should be related to his needs, his career interest, and personal goals in the organization as discussed with his immediate supervisor. So, if this employee aims to be a supervisor, so dapat i-appeal siya dito sa mga training that will expose him or her into supervisory trainings or into supervisory roles, di ba? So it's very important for the human resource management to to identify those motivations. And then also the basic skills. So basic skills, this refers to the degree of the employee's desire to learn, the cognitive ability, reading and writing skills, and other technology changes necessary in the work environment. Okay, so that will also affect their motivation. And the third process is the creating the learning environment. So, um, Learning man god involves a permanent change in your behavior. Diba? If you learn more, there will be dili man siguro nyo pansin, but there will be changes in your behavior. So for employees to acquire knowledge and skills in the training program and apply the information in their job, the training program should include specific learning principles. And what are those principles? So we will have employees need to know why they should learn. So dapat kibalo sila nga nung kinahanglan nilang matuto. They must understand why they have to attend the training program. Um, ang objective and ang purpose sa training must be made clear to the employees so that they will be motivated to attend. Second is employees need to use their own experiences as basis for learning. Meaning, training could be meaningful if malink nimo siya sa imong current job experiences and your tasks. Kay kung dili siya walay relationship, mawala ang medyo ma-detach ang mga employees. So the lesson should be presented on the level of employees understanding. Dili pwedeng based on understanding sa nag-train. Dapat on the level of the employees. Mo nang importante that you will be able to have personal analysis para makita nimo ang ilang motivation, ilang behavior, etc. And then next, employees need to have the opportunity to practice. Meaning, the opportunity to practice the learning should be provided in the program. Meaning, naa dapat sila yung mga practical. So, dapat dili lang puro lecture, lecture, lecture. Dapat na practical pod. I-apply nila ang gi-lecture sa training. Kay gingon nga, practice makes perfect. Di ba? And then, next is employees need feedback. Okay? Dili pwedeng wala kay feedback nga ihatag. Kay basig mali day lang gibuhat but then you did not give feedback. So, ilang ituloy-tuloy pagtrabaho. Right? So, they have to know how they are meeting the training objectives. Kung na-meet ba nila. Feedback should focus on specific behavior and should be immediately communicated to the employee. Because if padugayon pa na nimo, ma-instill na sa ilang hunahuna nga tama ilang gibuhat but whereas dili pala, so you have to communicate it to them immediately. Then employees learn by observing and interacting with others. So because employees learn by observing and interacting, community of practice refers, pag mingon tag community of practice, this is actually Jean Lave's situated learning theory. So if you want to research the situated learning theory of Jean Lave, ningon siya nga na ay community of practice, which means, according to the theory, that if you are a newbie, you will become an expert by integrating, collaborating, engaging um, sa community of practice. Pag may community of practice, those are group of people with the same goals, same objectives, etc. So, community of practice refers to a group of employees who work together and learn from each other and develop a common understanding on how to get the work done. Okay, so isa na siya sa mga principles nga dapat nimong timan-an. Next is employees need training programs to be properly coordinated and arranged. Okay, so there should be coordination because coordination is the most important aspect of training administration. It means coordinating activities before, during, and after the program. Right? So it should be properly coordinated para dili libog, dili sa pa na siya, dili gubot. Okay? So these are the principles that you have to include in planning your um, learning environment, in creating your learning environment. Next is analyzing training needs. This is actually in this still in connection to the creating the learning environment. So you are analyzing the training needs. The immediate and specific needs of a company are determining factors in the selection of the training courses and materials. So dapat you can determine, you can choose the training courses and materials. So standards as to the amount of training that should be provided for each type of job, so pila ka buok, to be readily established, as many other factors must be considered, such as the liability and experience of the learner and the complexity of the things to be learned. Okay, so the training needs, the need for training actually is indicated in the following instances. So if you will be able to see this, meaning you need to conduct training na. Okay, so for example, the need for for example, is when required skill is not possessed by anyone in the workforce. So, ang gikinahanglan nimong skill is not possessed. O wala sa imong mga sa workforce, wala sila nag-possess ana nga skill. Therefore, you already need to conduct a training. If when an employee's performance is below standard, but he has the potential to improve his productivity. So when you see this, you already have to plan or conduct a training. And next is when morale or production is low. So pag ang morale sa mga employees are low or ang production is low, then you already have to conduct training. Next is when there is a fast turnover of personnel. So, naay daghan nga nagre-resign na malhin og laing company. Therefore, you have to analyze what's needed. No, unsa nga training imong ibutang so that you can boost the morale of the employees. And then when the rate of absenteeism or accident is high, so isa sa imong tan-awon ana, pag daghan gani nag-absent, frequent, meaning dili sila happy sa ilang work. Timan ina, because I've been there. No, pag dili ko happy, dili ko ganahan mo on time, perming absent, murag walay gana nga mo trabaho. So if you will see that, that's already an indicator that you need training. And then when restiveness or dissatisfaction mounts, so naanay mga dissatisfied, daghanay mga reklamo, ana siya. And then when supervision is lax. So ang supervision medyo wala kaayo, dili makita. And lastly, when new technology is introduced, so if there's a new technology that calls for a training. Dili pwedeng walay training when you will be using a new technology or new equipment, right? Okay, so the next process is the transfer of training. So transfer of training is the practical application. So after nimo sa lecture, there's already a practical application of what was learned in the program. So ang mga immediate supervisors and peer support, um, or ang mga immediate supervisor and ang peers or grupo will support opportunity to practice what was learned. So you have to make that happen. The technology in the work area and the self-management skills influence the climate of transfer. So kung unsay na available nga technology. So let's say for example, after the lecture, then you should be able to make sure that they are able to practice it right away para dili malimtan. Number five is selecting the training method. So it's very important um, to select because there are many or a number of different methods can be used to help employees acquire new knowledge, skills, or behavior. So there are there are several consideration that you are going to choose. So unsa man ang imong mga i-choose? Um, Presentation method ba? So if presentation method, this is a passive receipt of information that includes the traditional instructions, distance learning, and audiovisual techniques. These are ideal for representing new facts, information, different philosophies, and alternative solutions or processes. So yeah, nag-present lang ka. So that's one of the method that you can use. Another is hands-on training. So pag hands-on training, this require on-the-job training. It will also require simulation, business games, case studies, behavior modeling, interactive videos, and web-based training. So those are hands-on. Dili lang siya puro lecture. Next is group building method. Ang group building method will help the trainees share ideas and experiences. They will be able to build group or team identity, and they will be able to understand the dynamics of interpersonal relationships and get to know their own strengths and weaknesses and those of their co-workers. So if it's a group activity, they will be able to know their strengths and weaknesses and also their co-employees' strengths and weaknesses. So those are the three methods that you will be able to choose, or you can combine these methods. Next is the evaluating the training program. So evaluation of training compares the post-training results to the objectives expected by the management, trainers, and the trainees. So before the training, you can actually do pre-training assessment, and then after that, you will be able, after the training, you will do post training result, and you are going to compare if na-meet ba nimo ang mga objectives sa imong training. Um, One way to evaluate training is to examine the costs associated with the training and the benefits nga na-receive through cost-benefit analysis. The best way is to measure the value of the output before and after the training. So you will have to measure the learning, no? Um, the learning represents the level of how well the trainees have learned the facts, the ideas, concepts, theories, and attitudes. So, tests on training materials are commonly used for evaluating learning and can be given before and after training to compare results. No, there are trainings gyud nga before ka mo attend og training tagaan sa kag exam to test murag diagnostic ba, and then after the training there will be another exam to test if naabay improvement from before nag-start ang training to after ng training. Matest kung naabay nahibaw-an. Next is the behavior. There must be a change in the work attitude and behavior of the trainee after the training. So to make sure to check to evaluate is you have to check the behavior of the employees. Kanang mga observable behavior must be measured in terms of work improvement, increase ng ilang work output, and then very effective sila sa ilang work. Okay? So the trainee must be able to display a better look at the environment, and increased productivity must be observed also. So, ang management should observe the performance as a group to as a gauge to effectiveness of training. So, iyang tan-awon if there is a change in behavior ba. And then for the results, employers evaluate results by measuring the effects of training on the achievement of organizational objectives. So, kay kining nga mga result manggod such as productivity ni improve ba, turnover na bawasan ba, quality ni increase ba, ang time na shorten, ang sales ba ni increase, ang cost na na kuan ba siya na maintain or na pababa, and then comparing records before and after the training, you can do the evaluation. Okay, so you have to compare the before and after of the training. Then, what are the criteria for evaluation of training? Because um, the effectiveness of training should be assessed on the basis of solid grounds. Dili siya dapat nga tansya-tansya lang. Dapat solid ang iyang basis. Usahay, ang mga trainers and managers they just rely on superficial employee reaction. So, usahay ka na lang unsay reaction ana, murag pahapaw ra ba? If trainees upload the resource person, the lecture or demonstration para sa ila success na na pag nipakpak ang mga tao. If they're happy to have taken the course, that's enough. So ana ra sa ila ha. If one notices that on the first day back on the job, they seem to be using the skills learned, one may conclude that the training money was well spent. So pag balik ninyo after training, kung naay improvement, then well spent ang imong kwartang gigastos for the training. So, what are the criteria? Unsa man ang mga criteria nga atong tan-awon? Number one, you have to determine what to measure. Unsa may mong i-measure? You have to decide before you begin training what you want to change. Unsa gusto nimo i-change? Ang number ba sa customer complaints? Ang rate ba sa scrap? Ang number ba sa employee grievances? The number of quality defects or ang turnover rate ba. So, you have to determine what to measure sa imong training. And then, establish a baseline. So, make sure you know the level of performance. So, dapat kibalo ka unsay level of performance so that after the training, you will be able to see if there's a difference, if naa ba improvement. Then you have to isolate variables. So, um, one variable is the kanang gitawag nga Hawthorne effect, named after General Electric plant. Um, the effect is employees improve their performance simply because of the attention of the research study, not because of any changes in their working conditions. So dapat makita nimo nga ang effect is because of their attention to the training, not because na change ang working conditions. And then you have also to measure the attitudes. So this goes back to the problem of kanang measuring initial reactions. But it is very valuable, important in the overall evaluation. So dapat makuha nimo na by change sa ilang attitude, positive or negative ba. Then you have also to measure the performance, of course. So you have to go back to your baseline. Tanaw mo ilang baseline on sa ilang performance before nag-training. And then you look at the result of the training if naabay change, if naabay improvement, right? So that's it. And if you have any questions, you know where to post them.